Welcome to Prenatal Yoga. We are actually going to start seated at the top of our mat, or for me, I'm going to seat at the center of my mat. And we will have some props today. Obviously, you will need a mat. And then I will be using 2 blocks and a pretty thick bolster. If you don't have blocks or a bolster, you could use some pretty solid books, some thick bed pillows, or if you have like a prenatal pillow that you sleep with, maybe that could work, or a body pillow. So when you're ready, we're going to sit comfortably. Oh, also a blanket. I'm going to sit on a folded blanket, just elevating my hips, allowing them to relax a little more. So once you find your comfortable seat, and that could be on a couch to start if you would like, you're going to let your hands, your arms come down to rest. Maybe that's up on your knees, your thighs, on your belly, or down in your lap. And I first want you to just bring that focus, that awareness onto yourself. How are you feeling at this moment? And then notice your breath. If it's comfortable, bringing it in and out through your nose, or maybe a few breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth if you're feeling a little anxious, a little rushed. Just slowing it down. And then go ahead and place your hands on your belly if they're resting down, shifting awareness onto your baby. What are you hoping to benefit you and your baby out of this practice today? What brings you to the mat at this time? Deep breaths. Feel your belly expand, bringing that oxygen down to your baby. Exhale, softening, letting it go. Take a moment to go ahead and take the hands away, roll out the wrists. And then we're actually going to go ahead and come all the way up to standing on your mat. So take your time to come up. Once you come up, you want feet underneath the hips or maybe out a little bit wider, depending on how your balance is feeling. We'll bring hands together at the center of the chest, prayer position. We're just going to take some breaths, expanding through the belly. Exhales, I want you to tuck your tailbone and hug your baby in. So use those abdominal muscles to pull up and in. We're going to breathe like that a few times. So inhales, let your belly expand, but not bring a big arch to the back. So keep your tailbone slightly tucked, but exhales, really tuck that tailbone, rock your pelvis, and squeeze your belly in. Feel that strength of your abdominals. And then we're going to bring hands down alongside the hips. Maybe roll out those wrists in each direction. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale, sweep the palms up towards the ceiling, connect at the top, interlace all but your thumb and your pointer finger, and really extend up here. Get as tall as you possibly can. Just a nice full body stretch. As you exhale, sweep the hands back down alongside the hips, and we'll continue. Inhale to sweep. Exhale to lower. Feel the tension fall from the shoulders as you lower on those exhales. One more. Inhale up. Exhale, sweeping it down, shoulders sinking down. Take a moment to actually roll the shoulders up and around. And reverse those circles in the opposite direction. And then from here, we're going to inhale the right arm up and around, just making big circles with that right arm a few times. It's okay if the torso rotates. We are not trying to do a twist, just rolling out the shoulder. And then we're going to switch directions over to the left side. Maybe about 3 shoulder circles, sweeping the arm all the way around. One more time around. And then from here, we'll go ahead and inhale, sweep, reach the right arm up and over, left arm just reaching down the outer edge, left leg. Release the right arm down, inhale, left arm up and a bit over to the right, right arm down the right leg. Just finding a little side body stretch, side to side. We'll continue. Inhale right over towards the left. Release it down and inhale left and over towards the right. And one more time. This time we'll hold just a little bit longer. Release. Back over. Hand can come to your baby instead of your leg if you would like. And now we're going to inhale, sweep, reach the arms up. Interlace all but the thumb and the pointer, and then lean those fingertips over to the left while pushing the hips over to the right. So big side body stretch. We're going to pause and hold. Breathe there as long as that feels good. Inhale, sweep it back up. Exhale to the opposite side. Maybe it's just a little side bend. Maybe it's a big one. Depending on how your body feels, you have permission to absolutely opt out of any pose or modify in any way that your body needs. We'll inhale back up, exhale, release those hands down alongside the hips. Go ahead and take a moment to make sure your feet are parallel. And then we're going to sit back into a chair with hands in prayer position. So inhale, we'll stand. Exhale, we'll sit back into that chair, pushing the hips back so knees stay either in line or behind the toes. It can be just a little chair sit, or maybe it's a deep one, depending on how your balance is feeling. Then we're going to add a tiptoe into that. So as you inhale, if you're feeling balanced, rock up onto the toes, the pads of the feet. Exhale, drop the heels back into that chair pose. So warming up the muscles of the legs. You also should be able to feel the muscles of your core engage as you squat down, supporting your back. But if you feel any strain in your back, instead you can come up a little higher. From here, we're going to do a few squatting cat-cows. So place hands on the thighs, inhale, chest forward, exhale, pressing, rounding the back. On those exhales, you tip that tailbone, feel your belly muscles hug the baby in. We'll go ahead and stand up. Inhale to reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, coming into our forward fold. So bringing feet out even wider if you need to accommodate for your belly. We can bring hands onto a block at whatever height feels best. Or maybe your flexibility allows you to comfortably bring hands to the floor. Take a moment to just shift it around, sway it around. Maybe you bend one knee while straightening opposite knee, easing into this forward fold. Maybe you want to rock the weight side to side to come out. We're going to bend the knees, slowly bring the body up, sweep up, exhale, hands back to the chest. From here, we're going to come into airplane. We're going to bring the arms pressing straight back as though your palms are pressing that back wall away from you. Pressing even beyond the glutes, and then squeeze your shoulder blades in towards each other. So shoulders squeeze down and in behind your back. If you'd like, you can add gravity to this or stay standing. For gravity, we're just going to take a nice bend in the knees to support the back. And then parallel your torso to the floor, extending through the crown of your head, a lot of tension in that upper back. And then exhale, sweeping it forward, release that tension. Hands come down to rest to the block or to the mat. And again, feel free to sway it around, wiggle it around, maybe rock back and forth on the feet a few times, stretching out those feet. From here, bend at the knees, hands to the thighs, and then we'll slowly stand and reach it up. Exhale, sweep the hands down alongside the hips, and this time we're going to interlace fingers behind us, behind the glutes. If it's comfortable, also squeeze your palms into one another. Again, opening up through the chest, undoing all of that weight that is pulling you forward here. Maybe you reach knuckles down towards the earth behind the glutes, or maybe you extend them back towards that back wall. From here, again, you can add gravity, bending deep into the knees. You can fold it forward, belly between your legs, maybe hands up. And then we're going to go ahead and exhale, sweep the hands back down. And again, ease out of that. Maybe sway it side to side. Support onto the hands. Maybe you need to shake out the head a few times. Maybe rock it around. Again, bend at the knees, hands to the thighs. We'll inhale, stand it all the way back up. And then from here, aligning those feet right underneath the hips. Parallel those feet. Just supporting our back here, moving into camel. So lots of chest openers early on. I want you to bring your palms into your lower back, fingers down the glutes. We do not want to push the hips forward and bend into our low back. So hands on that low back to remind yourself to keep it as it is, and press the elbows back, open and lift your chest towards the ceiling. Few breaths here. Really finding that in your upper back, your middle back. Tucking that pelvis in. On exhale, squeeze the belly in again. Find that hug of your baby in towards your body. Inhales, letting your belly expand. Exhales, pulling that in slightly. Give your baby a little hug with your abdominals. And then we're going to bring hands up. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands back down to the chest. And then we're going to step the right foot back. So maybe heels in one straight line. Or if you're feeling a little unbalanced, step that out a little wider to the edge of your mat. Trying to square the hips up towards the top of the mat. So maybe taking less of a step back than you normally would in your practice, being pregnant. And then inhale, straighten the leg, exhale into warrior one, bending at the knee, arms reaching straight up from the shoulders. Easing into these poses as we don't want to overstretch anything. Your body has the hormone relaxin in it that does allow it to be a little more flexible, but we don't want to overstretch for when we are through with our pregnancy after baby has come. So flowing a few times here, and then we're going to pause in that warrior one. I want you to tuck your lower rib cage down towards your pelvis slightly so your abdominals are nice and tight. Again, you're kind of squeezing your baby in. And then bring your hands to your chest, prayer position, or keep them extended towards the ceiling. So whichever feels most comfortable with your back, with your shoulders. From here, we're going to place the hands down on top of that left knee and then find a modified pyramid. So you may even want to shorten your stance more. Maybe that foot comes out a little wider. We want room for your belly to come to the inside of that left leg, straightening the left leg and maybe lowering that torso a little more towards the earth. So maybe on hands onto a block at whatever height again, or maybe they come down to the mat. Inhales, we're going to lift, straighten the spine. Exhales, maybe fold down just a little bit deeper again. Working hard not to overstretch, but just to feel a good stretch there. And then we're going to bring hands back up through to warrior one. And then we're going to rotate out into warrior two. So spin those right toes out towards the right wall, bending back into that left knee and reaching those arms straight out over the shoulders. Again, we'll flow, inhale, connect the palms, straighten the front leg, and then exhale back into warrior two, arms extended. And we will flow here about 5 times in total. Again, easing into that. If you need to shorten stance at any point, make sure you do. Just don't let that front knee bend beyond the toes. We especially don't need that extra flexibility in our knee. And then we're going to pause in warrior two. So next time you come into the bend of the knee, extend through those arms, take a gaze out over those front fingertips. Mama, you are a warrior at this time. Inhale, reach that left arm up towards the ceiling, that reverse warrior. Maybe right hand down the outer edge of that leg, or maybe wrapping around your low back. Extending through that left side. Gaze where it feels best for your neck. And then we're going to rotate back out through warrior two. Bring the hands together at your chest. And then we're going to gently step or walk those feet back up to the top of the mat. Inhale, reach up, feet wide. Exhale into our forward fold again. Legs as wide as they need to be to accommodate for your belly. Inhale to straighten your spine halfway. Exhale to fold it forward. Bend knees, hands to the thighs as you inhale, stand it up. And then we're just going to reverse sides, hands at the chest. Step the left foot back for warrior one. And again, maybe heels in line depending how far along you are. If you've got a rather large baby going on there, maybe you want to step the feet out a little wider. Paralleling those hips towards the top of the mat. Cinch your lower ribs down towards your hips slightly, just so we're not doing a back bend. And we'll start that flow. Inhale to straighten that front knee. Exhale to bend into that knee into warrior one. Reaching through the hands, spreading the fingertips wide, energy in those fingertips. And we'll do that flow about 5 times. And then we will pause, holding that warrior one. Making sure, again, the knee does not come out past the front toes. A few breaths here, getting long through the spine, reaching through the crown of your head. Bring those hands now down to that bent knee. Coming into our modified pyramid, we can start to hinge it forward, maybe again hands to a block or to the floor, belly to the inside of that right leg. Flowing up and down with your breath. Inhales to flatten your spine, lift the chest slightly. Exhales to fold it down just a little deeper. A few more breaths here. Nice hamstring stretch. And then we'll bend that knee, bring those hands back up to the thigh, back up through warrior one. And then we'll bring that into warrior two. Rotate those left toes to point towards that left wall, keeping that nice bend in that front right knee and making sure the knee is not following you towards the left. It stays open. Inhale, we'll reach up, straighten the front leg. Exhale, back into our warrior two. And again, flowing here about 5 times. Take your time if you need to slow down the practice. Maybe it's just a few. You do have that extra blood flow, so that can kind of get your heart racing pretty easily here. Listen to your body. Stop if you need to or modify. As you flow back into warrior two, we will pause and hold this time. Extending out through those fingertips. Gaze out over those front right fingertips here. Strong legs press firmly into that outer edge of that left foot. And then we'll inhale, sweep, reach that right arm up to the ceiling, that reverse warrior. Left arm down the back of the left leg, or maybe wrapping behind the low back, catching the inside of the opposite thigh. Side body stretch. Gaze where it feels good. And then we will unwind through warrior two, hands back to our prayer position. Step or walk those feet back up to the top of the mat. Again, feet out nice and wide for that forward fold. Deep breath in, exhale. Bend at the knees, always to support the back, and fold it forward. Feel free again to sway it around, rock it around. And then we'll bring hands back to the thighs. Inhale, sweep, reach it back up. And then from here, we're going to move into tree pose next. So if you need a little assistance with your balance, feel free to come up next to a wall or the back of a chair, resting your left hand there, right hand onto that right hip point. And then find where you find your balance best. So open the right knee out to the side, maybe the left toes are to the mat, left heel to the inside of the ankle, maybe the inside of the calf, or high up pressing into the inside of the thigh. Maybe hands remain at the chest. Prayer position if you're feeling balanced. And again, we're going to focus on exhales, hugging your belly in. So drop the tailbone slightly, squeeze it in. If that's asking a lot, again, just bring those left fingertips to a support. Or just hold your tree pose without the belly hug. Just a few more breaths here. Find a focal point in front of you, a spot that's not moving. Focused attention will certainly help you in your labor. Then we're going to see if it feels okay. Bring left hand either to that wall or onto your left hip. We're just going to hug that right thigh, that right shin up towards us, out wide, allowing for room for your belly. And then option to straighten that right leg, hand to the edge of the foot, straightening it out. Then we're going to release it down. And we're just going to switch sides. So right hand to the wall if you would like, or maybe to the top back of a chair. Find where you feel best with your balance. So maybe your toes are a little kickstand with your heel against the inside of your ankle. Maybe they come to the inside of your calf or high above that knee. We do not want to push any pressure to the inside of our knee, and we will be pressing that foot into the leg. So up high if it's, or down to the calf if it doesn't quite make it up to the inner thigh. The knee is open wide, and again, focusing on those breaths. Inhale to expand. Exhale, hugging your baby in. Using those abdominal muscles that will help assist in labor as well. Hands maybe at prayer position if you're feeling balanced. And remembering you can absolutely stay here if you would like instead of moving on. If you're wanting, maybe right hand comes to the wall or to the right hip, and then squeeze that left thigh up to the outer edge of the left ribs. Just a little hip stretch there, an option to straighten that leg if that's within your practice. If you don't normally do that when you're not pregnant, I would not do it at this time. We're going to release it all back to the floor, bring those feet back underneath the hips. Inhale, sweep, reach it up. Exhale, down to that forward fold. So again, feet wide. And then maybe shift it side to side a few times, maybe forward and back. We'll inhale, come half high. Exhale, fold it forward a little deeper. Maybe roll out those wrists. Maybe you want to sway it side to side. Maybe you want to shake out the head, nodding as if you're saying yes. Side to side as if you're saying no. Maybe circles in each direction. Seeing if you can let your head get heavy there. We'll come out again. Bend the knees always. Slowly standing up. Take your time. Take a little extra time if you feel a little dizzy. And then we're just going to take a little chest stretch. We're going to bring the right arm across the chest. Left arm can just wrap around. Maybe hug that in straight across, or you can hug that around that shoulder. Reversing, we'll bring left arm across the chest, hugging that arm in across the chest. Maybe straight arm, or wrap the hand behind that right shoulder. And then from here, if it feels okay, arms open wide into a T. Exhale into our cat pose, rounding through the back. So a standing cat. Inhale, open. Exhale. This time as you round, we'll bring arms into eagle. So interlacing the elbows. So either hand squeezing up in front of the face or wrapping around the edges of the shoulders. Deep breath in to open back into a T. Exhale to bring those arms back together. Inhale, open. Exhale, wrap opposite arm on top for eagle pose. Or again, hug the hands over the shoulders. A few breaths here, stretching out that upper back through the shoulder blades. Inhale, release. We're going to bring feet out really wide here, toes wider than the heels. And then we're going to inhale, sweep, reach it up. And then exhale, squeezing it down, wide knees squat, elbows hugging in towards the ribs. Inhale, reach, exhale, squeeze. If you feel as though you may start to go backwards, again, you can take just a lesser squat, or you can back yourself up so that the wall is there for support if that were to happen. We'll continue to flow here a few times, again, maybe about 5 times in total. Extend on those inhales, engage on those exhales, and we're going to pause in that deep squat. Bring your hands down on top of your thighs, or maybe hugging over your belly, or I should say resting over your belly. Don't hug tightly with your hands here. And inhales again will expand. Exhale, hug your baby in with the abdominal muscles. Come up a little higher if you need to, or maybe you're coming down nice and deep here, depending on how you're feeling. Maybe one more breath here. Hug that baby in, hands back to the thighs. If you need to, straighten the legs for a moment and then come back into the squat when you're ready. We're going to press the right shoulder forward. So a little twist in the upper back. Maybe gaze towards the left, stretching across that upper back, that shoulder blade. Inhale out. Exhale, left shoulder presses in towards the midline. Maybe bringing a gaze back over that right shoulder. Inhale back up. And then we're going to shift the weight side to side if that feels okay. Straightening through one leg, then the other. So from standing, we're going to actually come into a wide-legged forward fold. So go ahead and hinge at the hips, bring those fingertips down. And again, we're going to shift the weight side to side. So bending into one knee while straightening the opposite into our side lunges here. However far over to each side. Again, being cautious not to overstretch here. Fingertips down to our blocks or to the floor. Then we're going to walk the hands forward. Just take a wide-legged downward facing dog. So a little less weight on the wrists in this downward dog. Stretching straight through the spine. And then we're going to walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Walk those feet back in into our lower garland pose here, our squat. So we're going to really bend into the knees. You can roll out, rock out the feet, the ankles. And then if you're feeling unbalanced, keep your fingertips down. Or if your heels are lifted, are not comfortably coming to the mat, you can bring your heels elevated up onto a folded blanket. Or bring that wall right behind you again for support. Once you find where you feel good, if you do, palms together at the center of your chest, that prayer position. We will pause and hold here. This is a good place to do some Kegels if you would like, or again, do those inhales, belly expand, exhale, gentle hug of your baby in. If your hips are really widening, maybe this doesn't feel the best, you can come out early. And we will make our way out now together, slowly coming out of that squat to all fours, to our tabletop for a moment, and then back to child's pose. So widen those knees, again, allowing room for your belly to rest down, to come down, I should say. Folding your torso down, maybe forehead to the mat. Let your forearms relax down. And then inhale, we're going to squeeze, lift the forearms up. So press into your palms, lift forearms, feel your shoulders lift up towards the ceiling on your back. A bit of engagement in that upper back. Pressing, pressing, pressing here. Maybe even pressing your hips towards your heels if that's comfortable. And then we're going to bring forearms relaxing down to the mat. And then from here, we're going to slide the forearms in, bring your elbows maybe about underneath the shoulders. We're going to take just a modified Sphinx pose here. So staying in child's pose, we're going to bring palms down to the mat. Squeeze those, they're about shoulder distance apart. And then grip the mat with your hands and almost pull the elbows back. So instead of shoulders shrugging towards your ears, you're going to pull them back towards the tailbone. So upper back engagement. And then we'll release that, extending back out into that child's pose. Let arms extend back out. Inhale back up to our tabletop. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're just going to rock the weight side to side as long as your knees feel okay with that. Feel free to use extra cushion from a folded blanket underneath your knees. Getting just a little side hip stretch. Depending on how your hips are feeling at this point in your pregnancy, you can really lean side to side. And then we're going to bring those knees underneath the hips. We're going to take a little cat-cow pose. Inhale, little arch. Try to keep it more in the upper back, middle back. And then as you exhale, really press into those hands. I'm demonstrating not to go too far on that inhale on those arches. Exhale, press into the hands, into the knees, and round. Inhale again, maybe keep the tailbone slightly tucked so that your chest is coming forward. And then exhale, rounding your entire back if that feels good. From here, you can have toes tucked or you can be straightening through the feet, whichever feels best to you. So a few more breaths here. Those rounds should feel really good. You can tuck your tailbone under to really tip that low back up. And then from here, we're going to do knee circles. So back to neutral spine and then circling the hips as big of circles, this feels good. So they're going to come back and around. Once your hips come back forward, we'll reverse directions. Again, depending on how your hips, how your knees feel. And then from here, we're actually going to bring the hips above the knees, feet out wide, maybe tucking toes under, and pressing back slightly, a little pelvic stretch. And then from here, knees underneath the hips, we're going to lower down to the forearms, bringing again those elbows about shoulder distance apart, parallel the forearms so that they're with the edges of the mat, palms pressing in. And then a little abdominal work if you would like, depending on how your back feels. So tailbone tucked will extend left leg back. Maybe it taps the corner of the mat. If it feels okay, we're going to inhale it, lift the heel, exhale to tap the toes back down. Or you can just continue with leg extended back if that feels better. And then we're going to release that down. We're going to reverse sides. Right leg comes back, toes tap to straighten the leg. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. A few times, a few breaths. But if you feel strain in your low back or you find your low back is arching, just extend the leg back instead without the lifts. One more. And then we'll go ahead and bend the knee, bring that back underneath, back up to our tabletop. Feel free to do a fist for your wrist if that feels better. And then we're going to come back to a wide-kneed child's pose. If it feels okay, we're going to bend the elbows, bring the backs of the thumbs to the back of the head. So prayer position with hands behind the head. Just a little upper back stretch, press, a little more engagement, pressing into those elbows. Lower edge of the triceps down, and then we'll straighten arms back out in front of us. And we're going to make our way up to seated at this time. So take your time to come up. If it feels okay, we can take a little hero pose, sitting onto the heels, or perhaps onto a folded blanket, or even onto a block may feel good. So take a moment to adjust, pause if you need to find where you're comfortable. Taking a seat, and then we will come into a modified camel pose. So tuck that tailbone, palms to the low back. Bring those elbows back towards each other, lifting through your chest slightly. And we can again flow where we inhale, expand through your belly. Exhale, maybe a little squeeze of those abdominals in. And then from here, we're going to come all the way seated down onto the mat, extending your legs out in front of you. And then we're going to bring those feet out wide enough so that we can come into a forward fold. So not quite as wide as our usual wide forward fold, but just wide enough for your belly. We'll inhale, reach up, exhale, fold forward. And then again, we'll ease into this, careful as to not overstretch. So inhales will straighten the spine, reach through the crown of your head, lift your chest. Exhale, folding it forward a little deeper. And we will flow here a few times. And then if at some point it's comfortable to just hold that forward, feel free to. Maybe you use a prop underneath your forehead or your bolster underneath your forehead there. Finding a little extra support. Or if at any point your hamstrings are not feeling good, maybe this bothers your hips or your back, just straighten back up early. Otherwise, focusing on letting go, releasing with those exhales. Wiggle out the upper back if you need to. Wiggle out the muscles or stretch out the muscles of your face or jaw if you have lingering tension here. Maybe a little jaw massage, walking the fingertips along the edge of the jaw or smoothing out from the middle of your brow line across. Any little facial massage that may feel good to you here. So straightening up, and then we're going to leave right leg as it is. Bend the left knee, bringing that foot to the inside of the thigh. Releasing the weight of that leg down, and then a side body stretch. So right arm over the top of the right leg. Inhale, left arm up towards the ceiling, and if it feels good, reaching out over those right fingertips. breathing deep, a little bit of opening, a little more room to breathe with stretching the rib cage a little more on that left side. Gaze where it feels best. Inhale, bring the arm back up, back to the mat, and then we're going to fold over that right leg. Inhale to straighten your spine. Exhale to fold a little deeper. Obviously just as far forward as you're able without overstretching or without putting pressure onto your belly. A few more breaths here. Inhale, slowly roll back up. We'll reverse those legs. Left leg extends back out to the side. Right foot to the inside of the left thigh. And then into that side body stretch. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, leaning, reaching it out over those left toes. Breathing into that right side of your body. Create a little more space, a little more room to breathe here. And then we'll inhale, straighten that arm back up. Exhale to release it down and come into that forward fold. So inhales to straighten spine. Exhales to maybe fold forward slightly. Flowing a few times here with the breath. A little hamstring stretch, a little stretch down the back. As you inhale, we'll slowly straighten back up. Go ahead and lean back, straighten those legs out in front of you. And then we are going to take a little shoulder stretch. So palms maybe back, reaching towards the back wall, leaning back slightly onto those palms, not lifting the hips, but just a little bit of engagement, a little pressure. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Maybe bring your gaze up to the ceiling. So you're lifting your chest. But again, not pressing so much that we lift the lower body. And then we're going to go ahead and come forward. If you need to shake out the wrists, feel free to. And then from here, I'm going to set up my props. So placing my blocks one lower, one higher, and then the bolster is going to lean against them. So however close they need to be so that feels stable, feel free to give it a little rock. And then we're going to come down to seated, leaning our back against this bolster. So use your hands to ease your way back. We don't want to use the abdominal muscles to come back. From here, we're going to windshield wiper the legs. So if it's comfortable, we're going to bring the feet a little wider and then rock the knees over towards the left, rock them over towards the right, and just alternating side to side here. Those palms can relax down to the mat alongside the hips. Let the shoulders relax back to open up through the chest as you flow side to side here. And then we're going to bring those knees back up. From here, arms can extend out into a T if that's comfortable. Again, just opening up through the chest slightly. If that's not comfortable, bring them closer to the hips. Otherwise, just resting and breathing here, opening the chest. And then maybe bring those hands into our supine butterfly pose. So slide the soles of the feet into touch, knees wide, and then just let gravity do the work here. Maybe hands resting on your belly if that feels more comfortable, more natural to you. Taking a moment just to rest and breathe. Depending on how far along you are, this may be the closest you are to being able to lie flat on your back again for a while. We don't want to lay completely flat on our back if you don't have these props, because we don't want to put the pressure on our vena cava. Don't want to cut off any blood flow for ourselves or our baby. A few more breaths here. Feeling gravity do the work. Being present in this pose with ease, letting go. And then we're going to bring the palms back down alongside the hips, straighten the legs out. Use the strength of your arms to press yourself back up to seated. And then we're going to readjust our props here. So we're going to bring the bolster flat on its side, and we're going to bring the blanket out in front of us. So we're going to lie down on our right side. It can be up onto the bolster if that's comfortable, or if that's too much of a lift, you're going to slide that out, maybe use it as a pillow, or maybe not use it at all. Right arm can relax up, maybe that supports the head instead. And then the blanket is going to come underneath that bent left knee so that we don't roll too far forward. We don't have to engage to make sure we don't roll forward onto our belly. From here, we're just going to do a little clamshell lift. So bring the feet to touch and then open the knees up wide. Lift that right knee up, a little hip movement. And then we're going to bicycle, a little Pilates flow here. Bicycle the left leg, so stretch it forward. Bring it back, big hip rotation, bend the knees, you bring it back forward. And then next time we'll reverse, pressing it back, sweep it forward, and then pull the knee back in. Maybe one more time here. And then from here, again, that little hip stretch, bring that thigh up to the right side of your rib cage, hug that in a few moments. And then if it feels okay, slide your hand down the shin, finding the top of the foot, little quadricep stretch there. Almost like a side lying dancer's pose. Pulling that in, stretch that quad, maybe open the left side of your chest, and then we're going to reverse side. So take your time to reverse, bringing the blanket over underneath the bent right knee. Maybe you just roll right over. Left hand is there for support as well, and then we will do those clamshell lifts about 3 times, lifting left knee towards the ceiling while feet are touching. And then we'll do those bicycle movements. So we're going to press the foot forward, straight leg back, bend at the knee as it comes back about 3 times, going forward and around. Once your knee comes back in, press it back, reverse those bicycles. About 3 times here. And then we're going to relax that down. We're going to go ahead and see if we can find that quad stretch. Hip stretch first. Left thigh up towards the outer edge of the left rib, squeezing it in for a moment. And then we'll slide the hand down the front of that shin. See if we can find the top of that left foot. Squeeze that heel in towards the glute, and then maybe open up that left shoulder just slightly. And then we're going to come down for relaxation from here. So if you need extra support, you can always place a blanket between the knees, the shins, and feet. Feel free to cover up with the blanket, put socks on, whatever helps. Let your hands, maybe it rests up high on the bolster in front of you. Maybe it's resting hand on your belly, arm on your side. And we're just going to walk through our body, asking each and every part to fully relax and let go here. I relax my feet and ankles. My feet and ankles are relaxed. My feet and ankles are completely relaxed. I relax my shins, calves, and knees. My shins, calves, and knees are relaxed. My shins, calves, and knees are completely relaxed. I relax my thighs and hamstrings. My thighs and hamstrings are relaxed. My thighs and hamstrings are completely relaxed. I relax my hips and pelvis. My hips and pelvis are relaxed. My hips and pelvis are completely relaxed. I relax my hands and wrists. My hands and wrists are relaxed. My hands and wrists are completely relaxed. I relax my forearms, elbows, and upper arms. My forearms, elbows, and upper arms are relaxed. My forearms, elbows, and upper arms are completely relaxed. I relax my upper back, middle back, and lower back. My upper, middle, and lower back are relaxed. My upper, middle, and lower back are completely relaxed. I relax through my abdomen and ribs. My abdomen and ribs are relaxed. My abdomen and ribs are completely relaxed. I relax my chest and shoulders. My chest and shoulders are relaxed. My chest and shoulders are completely relaxed. I allow my entire body to fully relax. My entire body is fully and completely relaxed. Slowly start to bring your awareness onto your baby. Perhaps feeling them moving at this time, or perhaps just envisioning their beautiful, perfect little face at this time. And I want you to imagine going through labor and birthing your child, and the first time they place your baby onto your chest, first time feeling their warmth on the outside of your body, your first chance to lay your eyes upon that beautiful, perfect little face, and feeling yourself overcome with joy, overcome with such an immense sense of love like you've never felt before. Let that wash over you at this time. And then shift the awareness back onto yourself. Perhaps feeling your heart beating in your chest, or that flow of breath in and back out. Then let little movements begin here. Maybe it starts with a stretch of a finger or a toe. Maybe it becomes fingers and toes. Maybe wrists and ankles. Take your time. Maybe you stretch out through the body. Whenever you feel ready, feel compelled, you can start to make yourself back up to a seated position, whatever is most comfortable to you at this moment. It certainly doesn't need to be a cross-legged position. If you need the support of a blanket underneath your hips, if that feels most comfortable, feel free to find that. Once you make your way up, you can let your hands, your arms, once again find a place to rest. Whether that's up onto your knees, your thighs, or perhaps resting on your belly. Take a moment here to see how you're feeling at this moment. We'll connect the palms together at the center of the chest to seal our practice together. Thank you so much for joining me. It is my honor to teach you. Namaste.